Here's what I like. Laying on the beach with sunlight in my eyes. Laughing with my friends under the...
Hey everyone, welcome back. Last week I did a video on how to create dreamy glowing photos using the Orton effect. So I thought it'd be fun to try and apply this effect to videos. So here's a before and after of some drone footage, and you can see on the right that there's this soft glowing effect. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to recreate this effect in your own videos, and at the end I'll show you the finished edit full screen. So let's head into Premiere Pro. So here's the sequence, and we've got this drone footage clip that I shot with a Mavic 2 Pro, and if I just click on this and come up to color, we've got a few Lumetri color grading effects applied. You can see that we've increased the contrast a bit, and if we come into the creative tab, we've increased the vibrance a little bit too, but notice that I haven't applied any sharpening yet, and that's because we're going to be duplicating this layer and blending it with itself, so we don't want any artifacts created from the interference of any sharpening that might take place. We're going to apply sharpening at the end using a adjustment layer. So this clip was shot using D-Log-M on the Mavic 2 Pro, and I haven't used a LUT here, I've just performed some basic color grading. So let's just come back to the editing workspace. The first thing we want to do is duplicate this clip, so what I'm going to do is hold down Alt and just drag this up to the track above. So now we've got two copies of this, one on top of the other. The first thing we want to do is click on this top layer, and we want to apply some blur. So I'm going to come over to Effects here, and just start searching for blur, and I'm going to use the Gaussian blur here. So we'll just drag that across, and make sure you drag this onto the top clip. We can now come over to the effect properties. Notice we've got this Gaussian blur here, and we can increase the blurriness. And notice in the program monitor here that we're getting increasingly more blurry. So you'll need to play around with what blurriness suits the video that you're working with. So for example, in this video, let's choose 50%. You'll also probably want to tick this repeat edge pixels box just to make sure that the blur goes all the way to the edge of the screen. If you've already watched my video where I show you how to apply the Orton effect to photos, you'll know that, as well as creating a blurred copy, we also want to overexpose it. So once again, making sure this top clip is selected, I'm going to come back to the color workspace. And once again, we're going to make use of Lumetri color, and we're going to modify some of these settings just to create some kind of overexposure. So maybe we'll just increase the exposure slider a bit here, we'll increase the highlights, and perhaps increase the whites. So that's recreated the idea that we overexposed this video. Once again, we'll head back to the editing workspace, and what we're going to do is we're going to once again make sure this top clip is selected, and we're going to come over to the blend mode here, which is under opacity. And we're going to change this blending mode to screen. The next thing we want to do is actually modify this opacity setting and decide how much of the underlying layer gets shown. Remember that this bottom layer is the original video with no blurring or overexposure. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn off animation for this opacity, and we're going to start reducing this. If I take this all the way down to 0, notice that things look the same as the starting image, and that's because we've not got any of this top layer showing. And as we gradually increase the opacity, notice in the program monitor here that we're getting the Orton effect applied. So you can adjust this depending on the look you're going for. In this case, I'm going to choose quite an overblown version of the Orton effect, just so you can see it in action. But sometimes you might want to create this overly dreamy effect in some of your video. If I just hide this Orton layer, notice that the original image has a bit more saturation and the contrast is a bit better. If I just turn on this Orton layer, we can see that the resulting video is a little bit overexposed. So what we can do is we can use an adjustment layer to bring back some of that contrast. We can also use this adjustment layer to apply the final sharpening. So what we'll do is come back to the project here, click on this new item button here, and choose new adjustment layer. Just click OK. And we'll drag this adjustment layer over the top of these two video clips, and we'll just make sure that it spans the entire length of these clips. Make sure you click on this adjustment layer so it's selected, and head back to the color workspace, and once again we'll use Lumetri color. The first thing we can do is apply some sharpening. So in the creative section here, you can just increase the sharpening. Once again, the amount of sharpening that you choose here will be dependent on the look you're trying to create and also the source video. So we'll leave it at about 29. We can come back to the basic correction section here, and we can try and rescue some of the overexposure. What I'm going to do is start off by just increasing the contrast, something about there. We'll pull down the highlights a bit. I'm also going to drop the shadows just a little bit, and also drop the blacks down to about 80. So I'm not going to play around with this too much, but you could spend a bit more time when you edit your own videos. So let's just come back to the editing workspace and we'll hit home to go to the start of this sequence. I'm just going to hit spacebar just so you can see it in action. And you can see we've got this kind of glowing effect. And if I toggle the Orton layer, you can see that's without it and that's with it. So that's how to recreate the Orton effect if you're working with video. In a minute I'll show you the final full screen edit. And if you like this video, be sure to click the thumbs up button, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be notified of future videos, go ahead and subscribe and also click the notification bell to turn on notifications. See ya!